Did I? Oh.
Hey everybody!
Hi, we are here.
We are here and we are excited for another episode
Yes.
2 of Design With Us. Now let's just
Yeah.
quickly make sure that you can hear us and you can see us. So if you can do both of those things,
say it in the chat.
Say it in the chat.
Say it in the chat.
And we have a couple of people here so far, which is exciting for us because this is very new still for us, and we are moving quite fast, week by week, and this is episode 2 out of 12. Oh, it looks like the stream is also on our YouTube channel, which I'm going to delete so we don't hear ourselves twice.
Yunk.
Yes, that's good? Okay, great.
Okay.
So, let's just give you kind of a quick update, and then we'll jump right into the content. Yeah. So, what we did last week was we actually went through a big, massive, and massive design audit of 3 Roblox games. Do you remember what the Roblox games were, Jude?
Yes, it was Bloxburg Fishing Simulator and Adopt Me.
Adopt Me, Bloxburg, and Fishing Simulator. Yeah, those games, I actually jumped into those games too during the week. And I did some screenshots and I did some research on those games to understand them a little bit better. And that's kind of what you see here. And I'll kind of explain that in a second. But we did an audit. We also, in the past week, while the previous week was just getting started. Now this episode is all about getting organized. And getting organized can sometimes feel pretty overwhelming.
Yeah.
And it can feel like a lot of work. But
Oh, yeah.
as long as you stay organized, which is what this episode is about, then it won't be so hard. And it won't be so challenging.
Yay.
So, what I want to start first is show you our Figma document. So, again, if you haven't ever heard of a Figma file, Figma is a screen design tool that is... Hold on one second. Jamie, my wife, just let me know that some people are having trouble hearing us. So if you can't hear us, then please say something in the chat so we know that you can't hear us. Do you want to quickly run back and see if Mom can hear us?
Sure.
Okay, Jude's going to be right back. While that's happening, I'm going to take a little sip. So we'll just wait for a second just to make sure. So what we're going to do today is, again, we're going to kind of go through these this audit that we did, because what we're trying to do in the grand scheme of things is we're trying to design a Roblox video game, and we're super excited. Can you hear us okay?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So we'll make sure that we do talk a little bit louder. We do have the outdoor open, so you might hear some wind and some wind chimes because neighbors, but it sounds kind of nice right now. It makes us feel like a part of the community. And again, I know that today is a very important day. It is Mother's Day. Woo! So be sure to make sure you thank your mothers for everything that they've done. And please. And also throw them a big hug and give them some support, because they do so much for us all. And we love them all very much. And we love you, Jamie. Thanks for supporting this live stream show. And all right, so let's just get into some of the content. So I'm going to move my little outline right there, Jude, but I will get back to it. Okay. So back to where we were. We were talking about Figma. Sorry, I was a little derailed there. So Figma is a design software that is all done through the browser. So if you haven't yet seen Figma, just go figma.com. And if you're looking to get into product design or screen design, where you're building websites and mobile apps, Figma is a great tool for that if you want to collaborate with a lot of people. And Jude and I need to collaborate on this. So he has this file open on his computer in his room, and then I also have it in where we're actually filming this right now, so we can collaborate anytime we want. And I can see his mouse move, and I can see my mouse move, obviously. So okay, let's zoom in here. So the past week we were doing a lot of brainstorming around the things that we wanted to do. I ended up creating a couple things called these coach tips. Now, these coach tips helps us stay organized around what we need to accomplish and what we need to do. If you've never seen something like this and you have more questions, or if you want to get access to this, then please just feel free to reach out, leave a comment down below, or direct message us on social media, and we'll make sure you get a copy of some of these things. But these basically help you stay organized and help you create more of the action steps. Because the actions, Jude, are going to help us achieve our next milestones, because we need to keep moving along, right? Yeah. And those are really important. So these are a couple different ones. This one is around how we want to organize our file in Figma, but we're not to this point yet, so I'm just going to pass on. There's also an execute design, where all this is basically, we need to write down exactly what we need to do for this project. We need to write down stories and goals and define what it is, and then we'll basically fill that out. There's a little bit of a task there. Nice. There's also a map it. And a map it is basically how we're going to map out our game, and we're not there yet, but we know we're going to need to do this. So basically, when we map this out, we're going to learn how do you navigate through the architecture of our game.
Yeah.
So, like, what's some things that you can imagine that we will need to navigate throughout the game, Jude?
What do you mean navigate? Like move around?
Well, when you're in the Roblox game, you're like in first person, and you're kind of you can see the world, but if you take an aerial view of like all the characters in the game, like the map, and then all the levels and all the different spawn points and all the different mini games inside of it.
Yeah.
That's basically what we need to map out. So if you were to look at this little screen right here, we have like, say all these different rectangles are different levels or different things that you could do. We basically need to be able to map these together and create a linear flow, or it doesn't even have to be linear. It could be like, well, if you complete a certain task, you end up over here. Or if you complete that certain task, then you'll end up here. And we get to decide how that game works and what's fun and sticky about it, right? And sometimes that can be called a flywheel. A flywheel where you have a task, you have a reward, and then you have, this dopamine that kicks in and you feel super excited that you achieved something.
Yes.
And then you have another problem that you're trying to solve and you just keep going in circles and circles. And, oh yeah, look at us. Woo! I love you. That's awesome. Okay, so now that's what we'll need to do with the map. And then as far as stories, is we need to kind of think about the narratives that are going to be coming this story. Yes, the stories. And the stories, for example, like why would somebody want to come and play this game?
Because you get to rollerblade.
You get to rollerblade and, well, no, that is actually going to be quite a bit of fun because if you haven't rollerbladed before, it is a ton of fun. So one thing we might need to write about, Jude, is in the narrative, like, what's going to be an exciting thing that somebody's going to want to log into the game and rollerblade and navigate through the experience? You know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, you don't have to answer right now, but those are the types of things that we need to think about, and then we'll write a story about it. A narrative, too, is like think about how you want to introduce this product to friends, family, and the market. So that's just another way of like, how can we be really super creative about once we have a game, how can we share it with the world? And how can we get people excited about it? Like from a story perspective.
Story perspective. I mean, yeah, that's the tough thing. That's kind of tough.
Yeah, right? We'll get to it. Don't worry. We don't have to do it right now. We're just kind of creating all the action items that we need to do over the 12-week period.
Yeah.
Okay. Narrative 3, help me understand the game, what the game is about, and walk me through a crisp, clear, and concise journey. So this is a same thing where, you remember when you told me that some games have tutorials at the beginning of them?
Oh, yeah.
So if they are very complicated games or if there's a lot to them, we could have a tutorial at the beginning of the game that lets people kind of learn the game and have fun while they play it.
Yeah, I think with like the rollerblading and like there's probably going to be quests and like stuff like that. I think we'll definitely need like a tutorial. We'll definitely need that.
I agree, and I agree. All right, and then the narrative 4 is, how will people talk about the game? Like, share the product flywheel. And this is what I was just talking about a second ago, is like, we could project and imagine what people will say about the game, and then we can work backwards from that. So if we were to write a story, 12 weeks from now, we have this amazing game that allows you to rollerblade in this magical biodome inside of Roblox, where you get to play with your friends. And then you're in there, your friends get to
hang out and rollerblade.
And build points. And build
points.
Or like gain points. Not build points, but build up your points is what I meant.
Yes.
Gain points in the game. And you also get to
complete quests.
Complete quests. And there's a stories to them. So this is an example of how you can start projecting and storytelling what you might want. And basically, we'll just write a ton of stories around this, and then we'll share them with you as we go. And then here's just an example of when a story begins. Like, we can actually block write this, where does this story begin? The story begins when the gamer opens up Roblox and looks at the splash screen, which is a good segue into what we did for documenting this. So what you're seeing here, let me zoom way out, and you can see the 3 games.
It's hard to see.
And Jude, I don't know if you can see if there's any comments. I haven't seen any. I don't think there has been. Oh, no comments. So we can just keep kind of jamming through this. So what we did was we took screenshots of the game, and what I'll show you first is Bloxburg. Now, definitely want to give a big shout out to the teams and the Roblox developers and game designers who have built these 3 games, because lots of thought, lots of intentions went behind there, and they have so many players actually that play these games. Like, I was blown away by how many people actually play Roblox games.
Yeah, there's over pretty sure around 1 billion active users on Roblox. It's crazy.
Billion?
Yeah, something like that.
Wow. So people,
people.
Yeah, that's just wild.
Yeah.
So wild. So I took some screenshots of what they had as far as their cover screens.
They show you what's this is the city, this is the neighborhood. You can relax with your friends. You can explore. You can work to get money, and with that money, you can build.
Exactly. So basically, Jude, these 4 things: relaxing, exploring, working, and building. Those are the flywheel of all the things that you get to do in the game that brings that social and community side to the game. And I think that's why kids and people like playing it so much, because there's depth to the game. It's not like you go to the game and do one thing. You go to the game and do multiple things. So that's something we need to consider when we build the game.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So what I did first was I did an audit of this, and what this means, Jude, is all the different assets that make up the game. I basically went by line and just looked and broke down and what they did. So when you first come to the Bloxburg, you see these 3 core actions: play, store, and options. And now I created these little dots and these little kind of maps that kind of take you along a little journey, and they take you to where you can go as far as where the game goes. Does that make sense?
Yeah, by the way, what is this red little stuff?
Oh, that's a good question. So Jude asked what these red blocks were. So what these are, when you're actually coding the game, are different modules that show up on top of the screen. So for example, this little area, and I just put a block, is because when we build this game, we know that we're going to need a messenger, be able to chat with your friends.
Yeah, that's already in.
It is, but what we just learned, because Jude started coding this week to learn how to build these sorts of games, and we'll show you some of the progress on that in a second. Probably later in the show we'll show you that, but it does come with a very simple a simple script. When you run the game, you get that automatically. But I still think it's an important part of the design that we expose it in sort of when we're kind of doing this audit.
Yeah. Okay.
Is that fair?
It is fair.
Thanks, Jude. The other thing is there's a message board where, based on the status, and we also downloaded a plugin where we could actually round these corners, because when you first build it, you can't do anything rounded. So, but this hungry message is another part of the module. Over here on as far as the leaderboard, or the people that are inside the game, we started building this functionality as well. And then down the bottom left, you have your bucks. And so essentially, this is kind of your UI from a design perspective, and you're coming to the game and you get to kind of choose what you want. Mm-hmm. And then if I switch over into build mode, so when you click an E on the house inside the game, you get a lot more tools at your disposal. Jude, would you like to talk about the tools, or we don't?
Yeah, tools. Okay. So this is the delete tool.
Right here?
Yeah, the trash can icon.
Okay.
You click on that, and then you click on the thing that you want to delete, and yeah, it's delete. Bam.
So is it kind of like a design editor?
Yeah, but one thing that I don't like about it is you just every single time you have to click it, click back. Yeah, it's just not fast. It's very slow.
Oh, okay. So the editing,
yeah,
and managing the these tools are not very smooth.
I think we can make it better.
All right, so let's consider that. But in our game, are we going to have things that potentially build and edit?
I mean, I was thinking of, we have what was it? It was remember we had that idea where it was we have our own locker room.
Oh yeah.
Yes, okay.
Yeah.
So you get to put your rollerblades that you don't want, or maybe you do want, and you can trade it with other players. So like, say you want to give your friend like, hey, if you give me this, I'll give you that, and like you trade, or you do trades with like other people in the game, and you're like, do that, and da da da, bam. Yeah.
That's exactly right. So Jude's talking about like we were doing a little like sketch where we had like this little map. Here, let me color it, Jude.
Color.
I'm gonna color it. Okay, so this little area right here.
Good color.
I know. All right. So this, and it's 40%. Let me make it 100%. All right. So this little area, we were thinking about having a locker room, and this is an aerial view of just like a sketch of what we're thinking as far as you come into the world.
Locker room be there.
Well, locker room could be here or there, whatever. But inside that, you have your locker room of your stats and all this really cool, all of your artifacts that you collect throughout the game. So
yeah, where like you can go into other people's locker rooms and you can see what they have up, and you can see what they're like wanting to trade. Or you can see like a leaderboard. There's like probably 3 different leaderboards where you see their money, you see their like speed, or I mean just whatever. Yeah.
Boom.
Boom.
I think that's exactly right. So like all of those things, the important part of doing an audit is it helps you kind of self-edit what you want and what you don't want. And the important thing is we're refining that right now in early stages, and it's helping us like get organized as far as like where we want to focus first versus just doing everything all the time all at once, because we won't really accomplish anything if we just were to do that. Yeah.
Yep.
So okay, so that's an example of Bloxburg. I did the same thing for Adopt Me. Adopt Me, very, very different game.
Oh, yeah.
And we actually don't need to go into all of the details for Adopt Me and then also for Fishing Simulator, but just know that each one of these, like Adopt Me, is very, very into the daily streaks and the daily activities that get people coming back into the game. So is there anything like summaries that you've learned from just playing Adopt Me that you want to pull into the game?
Well, I mean, they did like, you see the Scoob or whatever, they did like I'm pretty sure it was like a sponsor with like the creators of Scoob, or just like, they did like a little sponsor of Scooby, like, yeah, and I think that drew in more players, because they like big Scooby-Doo fans are gonna be, get me in the game.
Right? Yeah. What do you think about like if you were to like reflect on the design of Adopt Me?
The design.
Yeah, the design of the game. Like, do you enjoy like the aesthetic or the colors and?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the colors are good, but when you're like maybe in like the mode where like I need to do it. Okay, so maybe you're in like the build mode, and I mean they could definitely make their build more in their build thing. Like, so say you want to like put different wallpaper, maybe you can make it where like it doesn't have to be on the entire house. Because I mean the wallpaper's on like every little bit, and it's kind of annoying. Like, I only wanted this side, but no, you don't get a pick.
So it's another thing, like, to be mindful, like, about if we allow customizations.
Yeah.
If we allow customizations from clothing, from outfits, from rollerblades, and maybe some other things, like what we need to be thoughtful or mindful about what we allow a user to customize so they can have their sense of style.
Yeah.
Right? We want them to have their own style, I would imagine. Because that feels really good in the game.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, cool. So again, this is like an audit, right? What we'll end up doing, we'll end up having this exact sort of layout or structure for how we design our games, because there is certain structure that Roblox does require you to have, but we will push those boundaries, but we're also learning. So we need to make sure that we have a functioning prototype before we can really take it to the next level as far as like having a higher quality of graphics. But we're definitely going to strive for craftsmanship here.
Oh yeah.
All right, so what I want to show you now, and again, this episode is all about getting organized, and this is the same thing that goes for your projects. If you're designing something really massive and you're trying to just get organized and structured or getting a lot of ideas out there, it's gonna get kind of messy, and that's okay. But the thing that after you have that messy moment, we want to go into more of a synthesizing or a reflective mode where you can start to organize these things, and that's kind of what we're doing here. So again, each one of our weeks, we started off with having in our first episode a little bit more of a brainstorm around the different types of things that we wanted in the game. And this is still important. This is still matters. We also kind of looked at it in a couple different ways as far as like how we could break out our worlds and what the flows would be like for the games. We also had, oh look, Jude, you made your way into
How did I get there?
I added you there for fun. I thought it was a fun photo. But as far as like when we were brainstorming, we were talking about point systems and other things. We were like when we were doing the audit, we've kind of accomplished this. And then now for episode 2, we're building off of episode 1. We've organized the catalog. We've also we're now gonna actually part of this next week. We're gonna be doing some research on biodomes and nature trails and ski resorts and kind of like things that involve very fast movement, like mountain biking. So Jude and I have a Peloton, and when we run on it or when we cycle, there is a mode that you can go into where you can travel to different parts of the country, and then basically the webcam takes you through these really amazing places. So we're thinking we need to think about how it feels when you're rollerblading through these really cool places, so that could be a fun experience for the gamers. And then also if you're doing it with other people, what could that feel like as well? So this is another fun, adventurous thing that we need to explore. And then we also want to explore some Roblox developer research. So Jude's already been coding, which I'm going to show you in a second. So if you didn't know, Roblox Studio is what you can build Roblox Studio games on.
Yeah.
And this is our week 1 game, and we called it week 1 game because this was just like the first week progress. But what we ended up doing, and Jude, do you want to talk about this?
Sure. So what we ended up doing is, so, you know, it's always good to like either watch like a YouTube video or like a video on how to like do this, because I mean, yeah, it just helps you, you know, get a little head start, and that's not bad. It's not a bad thing, you know. You got to get that head start so you can get some progress, and then bam, when you want to get serious about it, you actually know a little bit about it.
Well said. Yeah. So this is where we started. We built 2 different maps. We basically created a stat script which allows us to
see the stats of like our players, so it shows like how much money they have, and yeah.
That's exactly right. And I don't have it's on his computer, but he did. We have screenshots from that environment. This is one set that allows you to see your leader stats and bucks, which you can create your own type of bucks. When somebody loads in the game, we can give them a certain value, and we were playing and messing around, like giving people $500 or like $0 when they join. We also had another local script that enabled us to basically have when somebody joins the game, it's like a notification that lets you know that somebody else needs to join the game before it can actually start, because you need a certain amount of players. And then this was a lot like the bigger thing that we were coding like till like 11:15 last night, like just grinding, trying to figure out. And it wasn't easy. And the thing that like me being a designer and Jude like being a junior developer, This script isn't like HTML or CSS. It is very specific to Roblox. And
sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead, man.
So if you mess up like one caps lock or like one thing, it's like sets off everything, and it's so annoying.
It's like a period or a comma.
Yeah.
Or
So on this like clone map thing, if you could see that right there.
Where? Right here.
Yeah, clone map. If we didn't get that C as like the C as a cap C, then the whole thing, literally everything, would be off.
Yeah.
So
right. Yeah. It was a learning lesson for sure. But we made progress on that. We'll continue to keep jamming and coding and figuring that out. But it essentially gave us a world where we have like our chat at the top. We have over on the right here, let me zoom in. We have the people that show up in the level, and then we have a notification that shows, and this is the part where we left off, where we need to get the notification showing. And I think after we get these fundamental basic building blocks done, which is also because we're also designing while we build this prototype, it's going to help us keep making progress. And again, we're in week 2, so I'm pretty stoked about our progress, Jude.
Yeah.
Just shows you how far you can go. So we have that, and then the last thing I want to show you, and then we'll actually jump into some work. And then if you have any, questions, or if you want to jump in and just hang out with us, and chat, we could do that. The next thing is kind of like our design brief. Now, whenever you're starting a new project, it's always really important to have some form of a one sheet or a brief. A one sheet's same thing as like a design brief, but a design brief mainly like what kind of principles, what kind of values do you want, like what problems are you trying to solve, what is the game about, or what is the subject about. This is a document that you can go back to like over time and reference as a creator. Does that make sense?
Kinda, yeah.
So like
a reference point.
Yeah, it's like a great reference. So like say you're 2 or 3 weeks into a project and you're like, wait, what was I doing? Where was I supposed to be working on? What was the goal of this game?
Yeah,
what were we trying to do? What was the intrinsic motivation when we first started?
Confusion?
Intrinsic motivations, like the feeling inside that you were excited, or like what was that thing that sparked us when we wanted to make this? So we come back here and we'll look at this design brief, and we'll remember that we wanted this to be continuous fun. We wanted this to be humorous and performant. Like we want it to be fast and not slow and not crash, right, when you play the game. We want it to be a story-filled experience, and we want it to be very social because Jude and I are
social people.
Social! And then also we wanted to know like how do we plan on doing this? Well, we're doing a 12-week commitment, and we're going to build skills. We're going to document our work. We're going to learn gaming, and we're also going to learn about the design patterns that exist inside of Roblox, which we're already pretty familiar with. And our goal, again, is to build and design a functioning game that people love to play, both big and small.
Oh, yeah.
So again, some of the actions, these are kind of like these action cards that I created around things that we need to do. So we need to generate a couple narratives, and I was showing you about that.
Heroes.
What?
Think of the heroes.
Yeah, think of the heroes, the types of characters and special quirks that we want inside the game. So maybe that's something we could do for a 5-minute task, which we have our time timer.
Oh, time timer.
So that's might be something we can do here in a second. We need to start cataloging the types of things we want to include in the game and start making lists for each of them. We need to decide where we want to focus first when it comes to the project, which I think we're getting better at that. We're getting to understand. You're starting on the coding course. I've been looking at the masterclass, which I'll show them in a second. And we're just learning different things so we can keep pushing this forward. I'm going to delete this circle. And what style do we want the interface to embody? Like, I think that's something that I'm really excited to teach you, Jude, and to also get into the game. When we get to start visualizing the game and the turns, the tunnels, the worlds, like creating these worlds is going to be something really fun. And then the fifth one is building a paper prototype of the game. So I know that we're building a a Roblox game, but we're also going to, I'm not sure if it's going to be probably episode 5 or 6, but we're going to build a prototype of the game out of paper. And we're going to have an aerial view, which you'll see in a similar, so in this view right here, we'll basically have the game underneath. Let me move my microphone. And we'll play the game with you here in an imaginary way. So you could see what that experience would feel like. And then you could be the testers for us live. And then we could, you know, just clean this up and get in a really good place. So that's something we're definitely going to do when we come back to us. Thanks for bringing your hands in there. That's pretty cool. And then we're going to continue to watch YouTube videos on game development in Roblox. And then we might even try to find a mentor in this industry that could mentor us and to help us. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, because have you ever heard of a mentor?
Yes. Of course.
Who do you think that like would who would be like somebody that if you could pick anybody in the world to be your mentor
On games?
on game design or in on YouTube who would it be?
It would probably be the creator of Roblox.
Oh, like the creator? Dude, you just go straight to the top. I love that.
Hello, Max GTM.
Hey, Max GTM. Thanks for joining. Good to see you, buddy. Thanks for joining. We're going to get a shout out for hitting that, for coming here and just, yeah, hitting the like and appreciate you so much. Appreciate everybody for sitting with us and hanging out with us and taking time on Mother's Day. Make sure you give your mom a big hug.
Hug her. No.
And call your grandparents too.
Yes.
Your grandma. Call everyone. Just call everyone, right?
Call your friends.
Cool. So we're gonna also do that. Oh, cool. Cool, buddy. So we'll so if you did miss a lot of the earlier parts, don't worry. This is recorded and you can totally rewind back. So, all right. So we have that. We have our Figma file. So what I want to do now, Jude, is because we have about 19 minutes left of the show. Take a little sip of water. I'm actually drinking dandelion tea, which is really good.
Too much.
You drink too much water. Cool. So what we're going to do is we are going to set this timer for
5-minute work.
5 minutes, and we're going to write down as many quirks as we can think about. So let me take this right here. This is our action number 1. And I'm going to take this and I'm going to create a new page. So we have our audit, we have inspiration. I'm going to create, and this is going to be our action number 1, character development. All right. I'm going to paste in this action. And I'm just going to create another frame. So inside of Figma, they have these things called frames. And these are essentially artboards. And an artboard is something that contains your design. And if you're a screen designer or a product designer like I am, Jude, you'll essentially be looking at these in pixels. So this is right now is, so we're at 144. So we need to go to 100% because most people are viewing these things at 100% on the screen. And we're going to just go ahead and make this, let's just, it doesn't have to be a normal like website size. See, like this is like 14, but it's kind of off the view. So we can just change it down. And so we're going to generate a couple narratives about the game. Think of heroes. All right. So what we're going to do is set this timer for 5 minutes. And if you want to make sure that you can see, we're setting this for 5 minutes and we're just going to leave it. We're going to leave it on our table and it's started. And we're going to play a little music while we do this. Let's see what kind of music we can play, Jude.
Okay. Cooking gas.
What is this one?
Oh, I cannot see it.
All right, let me.
Wait.
Oh, it's a sound effects. All right, cool. We got music. Let's do this.
Okay.
All right, so let's think of heroes, types of characters, special quirks. So,
Okay, heroes. I think we should have Deku.
like a Deku type.
Yeah.
So when you say like, we can't like just straight up copy Deku, right? We need a certain. But what does Deku embody? Like, what is he? He's got
Power.
He's got backstories,
And
powers. He's got like how many different types of quirks does he have?
One. We can't have more.
One quirk. Okay, one superpower.
Wait, we should do like a thing. So in most like games like this, you can rebirth, and that's basically it's getting rid of all your stuff that you worked for, but it makes everything like a multiplier. So like, say you get 1 coin, it gives you 2 coins. It's rebirth.
Oh,
And
wow.
you can get another quirk because of rebirth.
And is quirk like? Is it? How do you? It's not quirk. It's Q. Okay. Okay. So that's what?
That's not how you spell quirk.
How do you spell it?
I don't know.
Okay. So
It's just-
we'll change it later.
Okay.
It's not a big deal. So that's like something, but you know that's good. But we also need to know, like, we need to abstract it even a little bit more. Like, if we had a list of quirks, like what would they be? Like flying.
No, that's not a quirk.
It isn't.
No.
Okay, give me some quirks.
Okay, a quirk. Explosion.
Explosion.
Remember, Bakugo has that.
And Max GTM, if you want to add some, if you want to help us brainstorm this, we only have 4 more minutes, so we're cranking through this. But if you want to add anything to the, I'll definitely add it to our brainstorming board. So explosion. What else, Jude?
Explosion. Forget it, but like remember that guy has like a laser in his belly button.
Lasers.
No, that's not it.
Chakra.
Chakra.
Is that how you spell?
No, okay. Wait, chakra? I thought we were just doing quirks.
Yeah. I'm just like brainstorming.
Wait, we could do Mirio's quirk. Remember where you can like pass through walls?
Pass through walls. I like that. Oh, okay. So you're just saying these are things. These are the elements. Let me write. These are the features that gamers will get to upgrade to. To use during the game. And then we'll have to kind of like mix them up too, so it's not a direct, but you know, we'll make it into our own. So explosion, is that just like making explosions?
Yeah, remember.
Okay. Pass through walls. What else do we got? I was thinking, I still think flying would be kind of cool.
Okay, sure. We could just do it. Oh, and then another one. We could do that Eraserhead's quirk where, like, so say someone tries to use, like, one of their abilities on you. It stops their ability for, like, 20 seconds. No, like 10 seconds.
So they press like a power key, and then all of a sudden, like if somebody was using their powers, they don't have them anymore.
You click on the person there, button, bam. Can't use your powers.
Invisibility.
Invisibility. Oh yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one.
Speed.
Yeah, like switch. Gotta go fast. Gotta.
Freeze.
Oh wait, Todoroki's quirk. Half hot, half cold.
Yeah, I'm just gonna put freezing because we already have the mass making explosion.
No, do.
Oh, fire.
Fire. No, do make them both like one thing, right?
Well, then it's like completely duplicating what they do in My Hero Academia.
Yeah, they do that.
Okay.
Okay.
We have like 1 more minute left.
Acid throwing. Remember that girl shoots acid out of her hands. The acid.
Acid. That's intense.
Think fast.
Okay, we're about out of time.
No. The camera hasn't gone off, bro.
Oh, it's about to.
Okay. Jiro's. No. Here's this bang. I can't think. It's hard to think.
So even like this is just an example. Okay, so we're gonna have like these sorts of things. How do you get these things?
We can make it where like you. No, wait. We can make it like where you you start out with, we could rank these, and like we can make it where you start out with like the very worst, and then you do like. Oh,
Okay, that's
so
fine.
Sad. Okay.
All right, let's do 2 minutes. Jude, let's do 2 minutes to define how people get these because I think that's an important thing to cover. So let's just do that real quick. All right, so set this for 2 minutes, and we're gonna turn our. We're gonna do this time a
Cooking cat.
cooking famous.
Oh God. Cooking famous cat. That's so mean.
All right, here it comes. All right, here we go.
Okay.
I don't know if they can hear it, but I can hear it, and it's fun. All right, how do you get these powers? So when you first, they could be through ranking and leveling up.
Yeah, probably like if you get like level 100, you get. Oh my God! How did we not do that? Did we do Deku's quirk? Oh my God! No. That's hilarious. Huh?
What do you mean?
We didn't do one for all.
Well, like I kind of think that the quirks are really cool, but we don't want to like completely 100% replicate exactly what My Hero Academia is doing.
Okay.
Like we want to take things and kind of make it into our own, but let's just make sure we have these things documented, and then we'll kind of figure out as we build. Right? It's good inspiration, but we want to kind of find our own voice. Through okay. All right. So one you can get through ranking up and leveling up. So how would you rank up and level up, Jude?
By completing quests. Like we could do like a thing like we could put on the side of their screen like quests that you like your daily quest, and we could make them like probably not daily quests. Daily quests. Where one is like play the game. Like this is a game that people do. I mean, it's like a thing in a game that people do, and it's hecka smart. So basically, like play the game for like 10 minutes, play the game for 20. Like it makes people keep wanting to come back, and it makes people play longer, so you're getting more game time.
Okay. Okay, cool. So this is something that we'll definitely need to kind of fine tune quite a bit. So one thing that I want to definitely like share with the group and share with the audience here is that when this is just like one example of an action that we need to do, we need to continue like fleshing this out and writing a little bit more and kind of breaking it down as far as like what the things are that you can do. When you first come to the game, you're going to have the opportunity to do a daily challenge. If you do a daily challenge, then you get XP. And then if you get XP,
you get like your levels.
Then if you get XP, you gain higher levels. With higher levels,
you get better quirks and stuff.
You get better quirks.
We're adding those. We're so down. Can't leave.
Then you keep building and keep adding. But the thing is, like, there needs to be certain levels of this, right? So, if you have a spectrum of, let's see here.
Red.
Linear.
Oh God, that's creepy.
Is it?
No, it's cool.
Okay. So, like, let's just say, so we have the spectrum, and we have, like, getting started. And then we have,
What the?
I'm going to hold Alt, Option, and click and drag, Jude. Remember, that's, like, how you make copies. And then inside of Figma, it automatically aligns for you.
That's nice.
It's right there. So you have guides. They're called smart guides. And then we have, like, next level, like way next level. And then we have like, maybe this is like after 6 months of playing.
6 months.
Yeah, I'm just like saying
6 months of playing.
After 6 months, there's like so many different things. And we have these like milestones in the game.
Yeah, one other thing, like in Adopt Me, like if I play it, because I do the daily challenge, like I don't play, I just play for that because I kind of got bored of it after, because I've been playing, I don't know, like a month or two. Like, I mean, it's good. It was good while I played it, but like, I'm just kind of bored of it. I'm just like done.
You're just
We
kind
gotta
of
make it where our game doesn't do that.
That's right. So I've kind of like if we were to let me just 1, 2, 3.
4.
Did it make? Hold on. Let me see if it did.
That's so
Oh,
tough.
it didn't do that. 1, 1, 1. All right. So I'm gonna on this line. I'm gonna.
That's so satisfying.
So let's just say. Actually, that's not what I wanted to do. But essentially, there's a line here, right? Of this player's growth, and then what? So we have like time. We need to deal with time, but we also need to deal with rewards. So the rewards that they get they need to be like very high, and they need to be able to get a lot, and then it's going to probably go down smaller, and then they'll have bigger wins, and then they'll be good smaller. Kind of like when we played Brawl Stars, you end up getting a certain you get a lot of characters up front, but then all of a sudden you don't get any characters for like 10,000, like 4,000.
Yeah, but we don't want to make it too hard. But we definitely want to make it like not easy.
Right.
Not medium.
Yeah.
Like hard.
Yeah. Agreed. So we need to find that flow, and that's why what these kind of blocks are symbolizing. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So this would be like big wins.
Big wins.
Or big rewards. I'll call it big rewards.
Big rewards. Big.
And so this is just something that we will continue to think about. And then as far as like, what are things that we need to accomplish when people are just getting started? We need to make sure that they can learn the game. We need to make sure that they know where everything is. We need to make sure, and that's what each of these dots might be. We need to make sure that they have rewards. So maybe like rewards, we'll paint those like, what color should those be?
They could be blue.
All right.
Blue. That's a nice
And then the learning is we'll signify that as green. Yeah. So we'll start over time, start blocking out, and then yellow might be like the education. So or something. So let me just write these out real quick, okay?
Green for avocado.
So remember what the 3 things we were just talking about? So we have the education of the game. Education of the game, marketing, rewards. Oh, we're gonna marketing, support.
Support.
Like we'll have like a support for it, and then we'll have in yellow we'll have the rewards. What else?
Yeah.
What were we just saying?
Powers.
Rewards, getting started. Playing, immediate fun. Like we need to make sure that like immediately when they join, it's going to be fun for rollerblading and everything.
I really like this game.
Exactly. And then this one is like the investment, like quirks.
Jude.
Even though I'm gonna probably have to watch what I said earlier because I feel like I just forgot what I said around the 3 things. Like I think, but essentially, like what we need to do, and if I was taking notes or something, luckily this video is recorded, I'll be able to find out. So investments in quirks, your locker room, the
trading.
Oh yeah, trading. All the mechanisms that help you want to play the game, these are like, what's that?
Showcasing your stuff.
Yeah, dude, that sounds awesome.
Showcasing your stuff.
I'm so pumped. So basically, Jude, what we'll do is we need to start. If this is the time frame from when somebody plays, like say the first game to like the first year that they play it, how can we block and mark out the different times in the game where people are going to need to have certain activities happen? Does that make sense?
Kinda. Water break.
Yeah, so let me try explain it one more time, and then you can tell me if it makes sense or not, okay? So in the timeline of a game, when you first sign up and you first start playing, you first log in, this green spot, we need to make sure that we can educate people, we can get them into the game, and then we can immediately start getting them into like a fun type of thing. But we need to be able to get them into the game first. Then we need to be able to help educate them on how to play the game and help how they can start understanding what the rewards are. What's fun about the game, like the rollerblading, the mountains, all the things that we create. We need to test that, make that super fun. And then as far as the third thing is, they start understanding, oh, well, if I play longer, if I play more, then I'm going to get investments. I'm going to get quirks. I'm going to get a new locker room where I can customize it. I'm going to get trading. I'm going to get showcases.
Yeah, there's like a game that does that. I've been playing this today I actually played it because it's like a lot of fun. So it's where like if you complete like certain levels, you get better stuff. So say like we complete a world in the game, you get like a pretty good quirk, and then for like the next level, that's like a okay quirk, and then it gets better and better and better for the next and the next and the next. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's what I was trying to represent in these things. And I think over time it will be like a flow where they'll get to play. And then in between that, we'll have these social like rooms and fun things for social like community, kind of like how Fortnite has like games where you can play with people, like creative. So we'll have these other rooms beyond the daily activities and things that are happening. And those are going to be a magical color of light blue. And these will be like the other sticky things that are fun, that are community, and what's and just fun. Okay, let's just end it there. All right, cool. So that was one action card that we did. I think it feels really good that we did a lot of great thinking here. Now what I want to do is just take us back to the last two things that we're going to do, and then we're going to kind of end the show. Well, we went through and we learned quite a bit about what we are going to be doing for the game. And if I come back to the inspiration and audit, I know they can't see the big picture. So what we're going to do for the next week is we're going to continue learning how to code, and we're going to continually refine our catalog of game rules and definitions and start running through a lot of these other actions. So again, this first action that we had, let me just show you really quick again. We had this generating a couple of narratives about the game. I think one thing that we'll have is a couple narratives that we can read to you for next week. We'll also be cataloging the types of things we want to include in the game. So these first two are kind of like our big action items, while we learn the other basic foundation of the game that we're coding right now. So these are the top three things that we're going to be doing. And now we'll switch over into like reflection mode and Q&A. Exactly. So usually in a reflection, similar to retros, we do what we think went well today, what we think could have been better, and something that was just maybe something we failed, and we could just honor that failure and talk about it. So, Jude, is there?
You can't wait.
Oh, cool. So, let's see. What went well? I think. Do you want to go with what went well today?
Yeah, I think.
Go for it.
I'm super excited that we got to I'm really happy that we got to get the quirks and the battle stuff. I'm excited that we got to get that all on the screen, get it all down there so we have an idea. Yeah.
You're talking about this part?
Yes,
I'm pumped about that too. Dude, that's cool. That was good brainstorming. What do you think could have been better? What's something that could have been better?
I mean, I think we did pretty good.
What's one thing?
Okay. Thinking. One thing that could have been better. I don't have any.
Okay. All right, cool. So something that I think went really well. I'm going to switch this back. Something I think went really well. I think Jude and I are getting better at the setup for this live streaming, and we had everything kind of ready to go. We had a loading screen, which was fun. We were ready to just jam, and like our little waiting room and some other fun stuff. And Jude, the actual camera is up there, my friend. There, we have a couple monitors and stuff where we can monitor, and I thought that the types of things that we talked about were on point. I feel like we're making a ton of progress in just a week's time, so I'm feeling super proud of you, super proud of this the setup and what we're creating. I'm still super pumped about this game to be able to go rollerblading. I actually want to go rollerblade, but I accidentally stubbed my toe and it hurts right now. It hurts so bad. One thing that I think could have been better is we didn't do much drawing today in today's exercise, but it wasn't about doing that. It was about getting organized and talking about just organization. And I miss drawing. I want to draw. I want to pick up my pens right now, and I just want to draw so much. I love drawing, but one of the things next week, I want to try to get more people to join us live so they can be a part of this creation process and get creative with us. That's something we'll keep trying to do every week. So if this is your first time joining the show, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for being a part of this with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks for even joining on Mother's Day. And if you weren't able to join and you're watching this at a later time, that's totally cool. We're so grateful for you. If you enjoyed any of this content, be sure to hit the subscribe button, like the content. That helps support the channel so we can continue doing design education and game design and just supporting this fun experience that we're trying to create for you. And other than that, we have talked about our reflections, things that I think could have that didn't go so well. Did I say something that didn't go so well?
No.
We didn't draw enough.
Yeah, we already said that.
Something that we could have done better is
See?
We did pretty good. I think our coding last night, we were running into some of the bugs. But that's more of an opportunity and a learning lesson that, you have to get every single little detail right when you're writing code. So it's totally cool. It's totally fine. This was a really ton of fun. Jude, thank you so much for just being awesome and doing this. And that's pretty much it. So we'll see you in the next episode of Design with Us. And we'll see you later. All right. Bye.